promised you the sneak peek of the book, so here it is. Let's talk a little bit about it. That may or may not be the front cover. This is the first rendering. Yes, sir?
Juan, who's that nice looking guy there?
That's Antonio Banderas, you know, with a lot of... that's called Photoshop, my friend. That's what that is. Yeah, that's marketing at its best right there. I look like 7 feet tall in that picture. Yeah, so that's it. That's kind of where we're at right now. We're playing around with it, but very excited. Like I said, December 2012. So what is this book about? What does Transcend actually mean? So Transcend is the story of the journey that a business goes through. So I've become fascinated with companies like, for example, Airbnb, and even what Netflix, the way that Netflix put Blockbuster out of order, Uber. I mean, there's countless examples of these companies that have actually, there's a term, how many of you have heard the term disruptors? They're industry disruptors. These are people that come in and absolutely disrupt the industry that they're in, and they change things forever. Okay, Uber did that. Netflix did that, right? There's all sorts of companies that we can think about. Tesla did that. Apple did that. There's all sorts of examples. So I've become really fascinated by, wow, how do they do that? How do they think? How do they behave? What sort of operations do they need to have? So the book really started as an investigation that I did about, you know, what does a company need to do to go from being just a supplier, and a supplier I call just supplying a common need in a common way to a common group of people, right? It's trying to be everything to everyone in a very, the guy who opens up, you know, a little pizza Italian place and it's the same recipes, the same prices you can get down the street. To me, that's a supplier. How do you go from being a supplier all the way to disrupting and just changing the industry? So in essence, that's what the book is about. Transcend is the name that I gave for the journey from going from supplier to disruptor. And so the book then is broken down into a few different areas, all taken from the experience that I've had in growing businesses, the things that we teach at ActionCoach. And it's really, you know, the things that you need to get right in a business are, you need to figure out the team, you need to figure out the profit and how to make money in your business, you need to figure out the structure, and most importantly, that's why it's here in the center, is you need to figure out yourself, your own psychology, your own habits, your own rituals. Yes, sir?
You're saying about Steve, the pizza guy, whatever, as a supplier. How can he ever come to a disruptor if you know he can't, right? You know, regular pizza guy.
Well, he would have to change, right? He would have to kind of change. I mean, look at Domino's now. They have the car with the oven in it.
Oh yeah, I've seen it keep it hot.
Yeah, I mean, they have cars now that have the oven built in, because what is the big issue out there is getting pizza cold. So here's Domino's, who, by the way, Domino's is, they're one of the dominants.
Right.
Okay, he would be an example. He's been here, at one point he was here, but now he's here. So by them releasing that new vehicle, they're now disrupting the industry all over again. Yeah? So to answer your question, how can the mom and pop pizza become a disruptor? You have to look at what are the frustrations that people have when they purchase my product or service, and what can I do about it? So when you think of Uber, in the old days before Uber, what were some of the frustrations with taxi cabs? Price, the quality, the waiting, the attitude, the smell, the this and that. So what did Uber come to do? They changed all of that. They completely came and disrupted that. So the way that you become a disruptor, in essence, is by having uniqueness and understanding the frustrations that we still haven't figured out in that world. And I talk about, you know, a lot of examples in the book. Yes, ma'am.
What I find so interesting, and maybe you can, you know, just identify this from the scope of marketing and, you know, being authentic or being original. 10 years ago, if I said to you, let's say you were my girlfriend, I said to you, there's a car that's going to pick you up. It's not a taxi. He's just going to pick you up. You know, he's okay. You can trust him. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it could be anywhere that you are. You know, you'd look at me and say, you know, Betsy, hit the road. I'm not letting some stranger pick me up in some place. So my question really is not really about Uber, but how you get from someone having one thought process and elevating it or transforming it to another thought process. That's what my interest is.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's a simple answer for that. I mean, you're almost re-educating the consumer. you're teaching the consumer how to behave moving forward. So a great example of that would be Apple with iTunes.
Right.
iTunes changed the way that we hold and curate music, the way we purchase music, and the way that we listen to music, right? So they changed all of that. They changed that way, like no one ever goes to a music store to buy a CD anymore. It just doesn't happen. So sometimes the market changes and creates a need, and here comes the savior with the solution. And other times, as Steve Jobs says, people don't know what they want.
I have to tell them,
Right?
yeah.
So people don't know what they want, and so you build it, and they will want it, right? So there's two ways that's a short answer for it. All right,
Thank you.
let's keep going. So what else is Transcend about? Transcend is also about what we call our business operating model, which is how to run a business, how to really run, even if you have an MBA, because when you go and get your MBA, they teach you the textbook way of running a business, and then you go and you open your own business and you realize, holy smokes, this is really not like what they taught me, right? So what we teach in the book is, in essence, the basic things that you need to do and need to do really well in order to grow your business and operate it well, right? So you have the book order forms, right? So please take advantage. I would love to tell my publisher that I sold some books today.
Could you just go back one more
Yes.
to the previous
Yeah.
one? I just wanted to.
And I'm purposely trying not to stay on the slide so you buy the book.
Oh, I got it.
Exactly, sales, baby.
You gotta keep going here. All right. So here's the order form, and so here's what he told me to do, which works really well. Is because you're entrusting me to deliver that book to you by December, right? So we're gonna give you a special offer on the price. So if you make a decision today and you purchase the book, it's only $19.95, and then there's also some extra bonuses in this area. I know you can't see it here, but if you can read it on there. Most people ask me for the slides on the presentation. So if you want a copy of all these slides, you get the book, you get all the slides. I'm also going to give you an hour of my time, so that if any of this information that you learned today, if you'd like to apply it in your world, in your business, I give you an hour of my time as a thank you for purchasing the book. And then what's the third? Who can read on the form?
An online
Presentation
course.
slides.
There's the online course, thank you. So the website that's being built now, we're going to have some online courses. You're going to have access to one of the online courses that's going to be offered on there. So all that, if you make a decision today. Let's keep going. That's the coffee. So whether we talk on the phone or meet in person to get you help on the business, it's up to you. Let's talk about profitability, because that's huge. At the end of the day, business is all about making money and profitability. So the thing with profitability is that, as a business owner, there's so many things that you need to figure out, right? So I'll use one of my attorneys as just a reference point. So an attorney who's been very successful in one state comes to this state and now sets up shop, and he's got to start from scratch, right? He's an attorney, right? But no one knows him. So he has to start building everything. So as a business owner, it's almost like you got to become an expert in human resources, in marketing, in sales, in what else? Accounting, right? All these different things. And so you're really kind of pulled in all these directions. And to a certain point, yes, you need to know. You have to know enough to be dangerous, but you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to become a CPA. You don't have to become a marketing expert. You don't need to become, Zig Ziglar in sales, right? You like that? But you have to get good enough to at least be able to do the job effectively and be able to hire people to eventually take those jobs away from you. And in essence, profitability is what matters most. The type of people that I work with, they're very intelligent people. They're MBAs, they're doctors, they're lawyers, and guess what? They just want to focus on what they love doing. The doctor just wants to focus on healing people. The attorney just wants to help people. We've worked with, you make me think, we worked with a mechanic who, he thought he wanted to be an expert in all these areas, and after we helped him set up all these areas, he goes, I really like working on cars. We're like, okay, go back and work on cars and hire a general manager to work on the other aspect of the business. That's okay too, right? So what I'm going to show you here is probably the most important and powerful formula in business. No doubt about it. If you can learn and apply this formula in your business will grow. It's built on the premise that all businesses are on the same chassis, right? So if you look at this example, this is like back in the 90s, right? These two cars were built on the same chassis, on the same frame. Now, the end result was quite different. Businesses are that way. It doesn't matter if you sell cars, if you're a mechanic, if you're an attorney, if you're a consultant. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. The chassis of the business is identical for all of us. And so the chassis really consists of the key areas in business, what in the book I call the key profit centers of the book. And if you learn to activate these 5 areas, if you learn to track and grow these numbers, the business and everything else will take care of itself. All right, so here's what it looks like. Oh, here's a quote by Richard Branson. He says, if you can learn to run one business successfully, there's no reason why you can't run any number of businesses at the same time. The principles are still the same. So he's figured this out, right? That's why he can have, how many businesses does he have?
Oh, I'm seeing.
Yeah, he's got airlines and spaceships and music, and I mean, he's got his fingers everywhere. How is he an expert in all of those areas? Is he a rocket scientist? No. What enables him to be able to have all of these different businesses because he understands the 5 ways.
And he also has access to the best.
Yes. So when we look at it, here's the problem is that when you start a business, essentially when you ask a business owner, so what do you know about your business? What can you tell me about the last 3 months or the last 12 months? They kind of have an idea of how many customers they've had, okay? What their revenues were. Some can't, believe me. I've encountered people that go, I don't know. I wait for my accountant to tell me how I'm doing, how much profit they had, maybe. How much money they have or didn't have. So this is okay as a business owner, you need to know these things, but this is not enough. The problem with just knowing these 3 things is that these are all outcomes. These are all outcomes or results of something else. So if you just know this, it's kind of like knowing the score of a sporting event after it's over, but you don't really know what happened that led to that score. And so knowing the score is not enough. Would you be able to talk about the game if you didn't watch the game and you just knew the score? No, right? Business is exactly the same way. So here's the formula, okay? And let's see how we're doing on time. Okay, so I gotta go a little quick on this, I apologize. All right, so first we got number of leads. Number of leads is nothing more than marketing, okay? Marketing. Conversion rate is sales. So marketing makes your phone ring. Conversion or sales makes it a paying customer, okay? So the moment you answer that phone, you're now selling. And this is important to know because I coach a lot of businesses that when I met them, they said, Juan, we need help with marketing, we need help with marketing. When I really dug into their business, I'm like, you have all the leads that you need. Your issue is you can't convert them. You stink at sales, so let's get you trained on sales, right? Sometimes it is a marketing issue. Sometimes it's both, okay? But there's a big difference between marketing and sales. So when you market and when you sell, now you have a paying customer. Then you have to figure out number of transactions. On average, how many times will that person buy from you? Okay, we talked a little bit about that with the client lifetime value. What will they spend? That's the average dollar sale. Now you have revenue in a business, but do you get to keep all of the revenue? No, because you have something called what?
Expenses.
Expenses, overheads, absolutely. So you have to subtract your overheads and expenses, and then you have profit margin, percentage, and profit. Okay, so let's look at an example here. So let's say we have a small business, and annually they get about 4,000 leads. Okay, so 4,000 leads, that can be phone ringing, people walking in the door, website inquiries, referrals, everything. 4,000 per year. And of those 4,000, they convert 25%. So that means they have how many customers?
1,000.
1,000, very good. Everybody's awake for the most part. Number of transactions. So these 1,000 people will buy from them twice in that year. Their average dollar sale is $100. So revenue, this company can expect to bring in about $200,000 a year. However, they have overheads and expenses, so their profit margin is only 25%. So what's left over for the owner at the end of the day is about $50,000. Okay? So a nice little business. But what if this number is okay for the first year, for the second year, and then all of a sudden he or she finds himself stuck? Like, been at $50,000 for 5 years now. What do? Right? So they got to change up something here. So what happens is they get a coach, right? So I come in and I say, well, let's look at what are you doing for lead generation? What are you doing for marketing, right? So we got like 300 strategies for marketing. What are you doing to convert those customers? What are you doing to increase the number of transactions? How are you getting them back? What are you doing for average dollar sale? Okay? What are you doing to increase, to upsell, to cross-sell? And what are you doing to make your margins fatter? What are you doing to increase your profitability, right? So you have to look at all these different things. At the end of the day, it's all about testing and measuring. So we're going to look at some strategies for each of the 5 ways. We're going to implement them in your business, and then we're going to test and measure and see what works, what doesn't work. Whatever works, we keep doing. Whatever doesn't work, we throw it out, put something else in. Okay, we're going to do that for the course of 12 months. So let's see what the impact is. So let's just say conservatively 10%. On average, our customers are about 23% increase worldwide as a company. Let's just say conservatively, our efforts yield only a 10% increase. So we fix your marketing. We implement new marketing techniques. 10% growth on 4,000 is how much?
4,400.
4,400. So then I'm going to work with you to make you a better salesperson. I'm going to work with you and your team so that you can convert these leads. And a 10% increase is how much?
35.
No, it's not.
1,100.
It's 27.5. Very good. Just making sure you guys were awake. Right. So 27. So just by making your marketing better and making you a better salesperson, your team converting those, look at the impact on this business. So now you're working with about 210 more customers annually. But then we're not done, because now we got number of transactions. So what are we going to do? We're going to focus on getting those customers back. We're going to use your database. We're going to market to them. We're going to call them. We're going to use language and psychology that's interesting to them so that they come back and buy from you. 10% increase on 2 is how much?
2.2.
Yeah, 2.2. But not only are we going to call them back, we're also going to get them to buy more. We're going to upsell. We're going to use a downward sell strategy, and instead of buying $100, 10% improvement is how much?
110.
110. So we're going to get just $10 more from each customer every time they buy from you. So what does that look like on the bottom line, or on the top line actually? Is 292,000. Not bad at all, right? But we're not done yet, because we're going to look at your expenses. We're going to look through your profit and loss. We're going to look at every single thing. We're going to renegotiate with vendors. We're going to look at every single item, and we're going to try to increase your margins. We're going to look at your pricing. We're going to look if there's some money being left on the table. What's a 10% improvement on 25?
27.5.
Yeah, who said that? Good with math. All right, that's good. 27.5. So what does that mean at the bottom line here? This owner will give themselves a $30,000 increase. Here's why this is such a big deal, guys. It's because most business owners, when they think of, and when I ask them, so how do you plan on growing your business this year? What do you think that they say? They focus on just, I got to do some marketing. I got to do some marketing. I got to do some advertising. I got to meet some people, right? They're putting all their eggs in that one basket of, if I just had more time or money in marketing, everything will be just fine. And that's a bad way of thinking. Because what this formula shows you is that there's 4 other ways. You're loving this, aren't you? There's 4 other ways to grow your business, right? It's not just marketing. I actually got called to a company, and she was saying, Juan, our website went down. We put it back up. We have a huge leads issue. We don't get any leads. We don't get a marketing problem. When I actually said, well, how many leads do you get? She told me she gets 300 leads a month. I was like, wait a minute, per month? She said, per month. And I said, but are they all good? And she goes, at least half of them are good. I'm like, okay, that's 150. You mean to tell me that you have 150 prospective buyers that come to you every month? She's like,